Are we live, ladies and gentlemen? Looks like we're live. All right, looks like we're going here. All right. Well, we got a new phone holder, and this one's just as big of a piece of junk as the other ones, I guess. My gosh, this thing is really bad. Needs a stabilizer. Well, I guess you got to keep trying. I don't know whether it's these roads, folks, or what, but this is terrible, isn't it? You guys getting a buzz watching this thing vibrate like that? Let me see what I can do here. It'll be just a moment. Gotta find a spot here where I can make some adjustments. Well, at any rate, this is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live from the woke and broke, busted up streets of Fullerton, California. And of course, today is Thursday, March 21st, 2024. Okay. So, without any further ado, let's just try to stabilize the transmission device here so we can have a little bit of a better transmission that's more watchable. How's that? Let's see if that helps. I think that might do the trick. As I traverse the streets of Orange County, bringing you the news that's really the truth, folks. All right, let's see if we can get this thing to stabilize a little more here. Is this thing moving around too much? I don't know. Maybe I need a new car, for crying out loud, you know? This thing is 30 years old. But, you know, on the right roads, it's not a problem, folks. It's just these roads are so terrible. Is this watchable, folks? Now, believe it or not, this thing has excellent suspension. I just got it back from the mechanic. And, yeah, this phone holder's a piece of junk too, isn't it? Unbelievable. All right. Well, I guess what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to just we're just gonna have to do it this way. All right, how about that? You guys see me okay? All right, well, the bottom line is I wanted to talk to you today about some issues that really concern me about what is going on and about what we're not being told about what's going on, folks. I want to take your attention to the city of San Francisco, California. It is a city that for a very long time was rather interesting. I mean, it had really a checkered past. It's always been a hub of drugs and debauchery, but it was a financial and, you know, it was just a spot in the United States. It's a big city. It had a lot of action, a lot of activity, a lot of money, a lot of businesses, and it had prominence in the United States for a very long time. And like I said, although it had a really, you know, checkered past riddled with, you know, a lot of bad things, right now, what's going on in San Francisco is what I want to talk about. And no, I don't want to talk about all the fentanyl addicts out there, because that's not the purpose of this stream. The purpose of this stream is to talk about what they're doing with San Francisco. The oldest trick in the book is problem, reaction, solution, ladies and gentlemen, all right? Problem, reaction, solution. Now, it's interesting that all the shops are closed in the the Embarcadero, and all these fancy areas that used to be just, teeming with office workers and people and tourists, right? Everything is closed down. You have these massive buildings, these office buildings that are totally empty. And I'm talking massive, folks. I mean, we're talking a major metropolitan area with skyscrapers and businesses and restaurants and parking structures and retail stores and all kinds of square footage. Hundreds of millions of square feet of office space and parking structures are empty. Did you hear me? They're empty. Because by design, the communist regime in California, run by arguably probably one of the most evil men in the United States, that is Governor Gavin Newsom. No question this man embodies evil, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, everything he does is right out of Lenin's and Trotsky's playbook. I mean, he's a card-carrying communist, okay? And let me tell you something about communists. Communists are very dangerous because they have one goal, and that is to destroy everything and level everything so it can be controlled with the hammer and sickle, folks, okay? And if you don't know what those things are, I think you need to refresh your memory to see what happened in China during the Communist Revolution, what happened in Vietnam during the Communist Revolution, what happened in Cuba during the Communist Revolution, what happened in Venezuela in the Communist Revolution, what happened in Laos and Cambodia in the Communist Revolution, what happened in Russia during the Communist Revolution, right? Hundreds of millions of people lost their lives. And of course, it was all done through blunt force trauma, starvation, and gunfire. Okay, that's how the communists murder people. And it's no secret that in California they want to take the guns away from everybody, either by literally banning them, or I think another piece of legislation came off the printer about a month ago in Sacramento, where they want to have an annual registration fee on guns. Well, good luck with that. Nobody's going to pay it. Just like when they did that in other states, I think they had like a 2% response rate. Yeah, they can shove it, okay? But what Governor Newsom did was empty the jails and allow the proliferation of druggy zombies and crime to destroy the area of San Francisco. Drive the businesses out, okay? Now, why did he drive the businesses out of there? Well, because San Francisco is going to be used as, it's very important, I need you to listen to me. San Francisco is going to be used for a filtration point for troops. Now, some of the military personnel in the regiments in Northern California are being trained in crash courses to learn Mandarin. Okay, that's the language of the Chinese people. And what is happening in the San Francisco area is it is being emptied, not by accident, but on purpose, so that the downtown areas that are adjacent to where the harbor is can be used to quarter troops, move supplies, and potentially even house large numbers of us. The city of San Francisco is not being allowed to disintegrate by accident, folks. It's intentional. It's just a transition from a capitalist economic occupancy to a communist military occupation. And don't kid yourself, folks. This is not a joke. They have plans to bring troops in to Northern California in through San Francisco. And they're going to use the infrastructure of San Francisco for housing, quartering, and storing troops and military supplies. And it's not going to be so they can maintain law and order in the streets so we can go back to life as normal, folks. It's just the opposite. The United States is undergoing a communist revolution. And I'm going to keep harping on this. You know, I don't know if you remember, and I might as well say this, the absolute crap you were taught in high school, okay? But they did touch a little bit on the Communist Manifesto, didn't they? Don't you remember having to read it amongst all the other stuff? And the thing about high school is you don't want to pay attention or understand or remember what you're reading because you're forced to do so much work on it that you just want to get through the term paper and the assignments so you can go see your girlfriend. Don't you remember those days where you just couldn't wait to get done with your homework so you could go see your girlfriend or your friends or, go outside and go to Taco Bell or whatever? The young people, they still want to just be young, free-spirited, but they're just burdened with all this trash, right? All this useless garbage. But communism is a wind-up toy that was created by the deniers of Jesus Christ to flatten societies and genocide massive amounts of the population so that they can level the place and go in there and just do what they want with it. And it's a wind-up toy that's been used by these monsters for a very long time. And, you hear about all these wars and all these things, fighting the communists, but it's like they're just playing a game, they're having everybody kill each other while they just sit there, keep their hands clean and laugh as they run everything through controlling the finances. That's what they do. But San Francisco is a very strategic location because of its deepwater port and the massive infrastructure that exists to house and quarter troops, and from a logistical standpoint, to plan an invasion. And don't kid yourself, folks. You really think that the state governor or the legislature wants Californians to be safe and healthy and free from harm when just about everything that they do from a legal perspective through legislative enactment is counterproductive, economically speaking, dangerous in terms of public safety, insane in terms of common sense, and counterintuitive in terms of what is logical. I mean, when you understand the mechanisms by which laws are passed in California, you get an author and a co-author, and they write a piece of legislation that they want to pass. And they enter it in, it comes off the printer, then it starts going through these committee hearings, judiciary, appropriations. They got to look at the thing and see if it's constitutional. They got to see the fiscal impact. They got to see where the money's going to come from. And all these committees are stacked because it's all rigged who gets elected up there. But these laws, if you read them, it's insane. And the people that are putting these laws in place, they're not doing anything to make California a better place. They're doing everything they can to fold California into hard communism. Now, you think that it's just going to be California, folks. As California goes, so goes the nation. I mean, you look at so many of these states that are following in the footsteps, and all it takes is the stroke of a pen, and your state falls next. So why am I telling you this? I want you to start understanding why the urban decay is being encouraged by these economic policies, and why the proliferation of drug addicts and homeless all over the streets is an alleged uncontrollable epidemic of fiscal insanity when in fact it's by design. It's being funded by these people. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, the Sackler family gave us the opioid crisis, and I don't know how many opera halls and college libraries that got named after them, and they're not even spending a minute in jail. They're probably sipping, $100,000 bottles of wine and eating caviar on their private jet. I mean, no accountability. These people are all connected. When you look at the other cities in the United States that have been selectively chosen for destruction, a lot of them have something in common. They have an underground railroad network like subways. They have a deepwater port. And they have a massive amount of empty real estate that can house and hold a lot of people and supplies and equipment. When you consider the strategic importance of San Francisco, and you consider its proximity to mainland China, when you consider how well it would suit a military operation, and when you consider how regiments of troops in that region are being taught Mandarin in secret right now. This is not something that's public in terms of it being well disseminated. I mean, it's a fact that they're learning Mandarin. I don't know why troops need to learn Chinese unless they're planning on working with them. It is my opinion that what is going on in the Middle East and in Gaza is a false flag designed to start World War III. I mean, anybody that's not outraged by what's going on over there is sick in the head. But that's by design as well, folks, because what is going on in Gaza by Israel, what is being conducted in the Gaza Strip is absolutely, positively designed to enrage the world to start World War III. It's intentional, okay? And what's going to happen in the United States is I suspect that they're going to begin a draft and bring all the young men out of the country and bring in the foreign troops. I believe that's the plan. And on the West Coast, it'll be the Chinese. Now, I don't know if any of you are aware of this or not, but there was a movie that was filmed back in 1996. It was called The Titanic. And many years ago, I used to go down to Mexico with my piece of junk Datsun pickup and a little wooden boat with a 3.5 horsepower air-cooled Sears outboard motor and go fishing down in Ensenada. And there was a little lobster stop on the way that you used to be able to go down on the way to Ensenada off the Quota, off their version of Pacific Coast Highway. And you could stop in a town called Puerto Nuevo and pick up lobster. I kid you not, folks. I used to have a lobster dinner for like $6 down there back in 1985, 1986. And I would be on my way to Ensenada to go fishing, and I'd stop in Puerto Nuevo and have a nice lobster dinner. And, it was great. But that's where they filmed the Titanic, okay? They built this big replica of the Titanic in Puerto Nuevo. But they also, at the same time, the Chinese government built a massive highway that runs from Puerto Nuevo all the way to the United States border, inland from the one in San Ysidro, okay? So the Chinese government built a massive highway that isn't maintained or even policed by the Mexican government in Mexico, that leads from a deep water port to the United States border. Now, does that concern you? Well, it should, because the plans are to bring in troops from the north and the south. And folks, they're going to bring in troops from every which way but loose, all right? That's why there is an agenda to take your guns away. Because the problem with the United States for these communists is that we have a standing army called the American people. And so they have a couple solutions to that. They can attempt to run their false flag shootings to try to get gun control legislation passed, which they've been doing for literal decades. And then if that doesn't work, then what they'll do is they'll just try to start a civil war to get us to use our guns on each other. And that hasn't been working too well either. Have you not noticed all of the fanning of the flames of racial tension and class warfare that have been prevalent through the media, and even in the educational system, they have these classes just brainwashing everybody into being divided and hating each other and hating on each other. And it's all this this 1% socialism, hating people that own businesses and have money even though they provide all the jobs for everybody. By the way, did it ever occur to you that the guy or the gal that runs your company probably worked till 2, 3, 4 in the morning for 10, 15, 20 years to build the company just so you could have a job? And then you hate them for buying a Mercedes, right? Give me a break. They're job creators, folks. Business owners are job creators. They're not your enemy. But yet this class warfare ideology that they're setting up, and then, this racial tension that they're giving us with all this wokeism and all this stuff, and making us hate each other and argue. Folks, Americans are Americans. We're all in this together, okay? The real enemy of the American people is the group of people that wants us to hate each other and wants to destroy our businesses and wants to destroy our rights and wants to destroy our families and wants to destroy the fabric of our society. And it's pretty obvious who they are. Just turn on the television. They're spewing this stuff like a fire hydrant. Go to your college and look at the professors. They're spewing this stuff like a fire hose because they know that united we stand and divided we fall. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Well, because number one, I want you to understand that all of these things are not happening by accident. When you say, oh, it's so sad, I used to go to Fisherman's Wharf, and now it's just a bunch of tent cities and hypodermic needles. That's not an accident, ladies and gentlemen. These things aren't accidental. These are carefully planned out implosions of regions that run simultaneously with gun grabbing and communism. Because as they destroy the infrastructure, the economy, and they bring in the crime and the drugs, they know that the chaos will yield order out of their Hegelian dialectic, their problem, reaction, solution mechanism. Their Ordab Chaos Masonic operation, right? And so they know that they'll be able to pass draconian laws and people will accept it because people will sacrifice freedom for safety, and in the end they get neither. But that's the con. I just want you all to make sense out of what is happening so that you're not afraid and that you're not confused, because you cannot react and plan and operate and map out and plot your existence in an orderly fashion if you're constantly dazed and confused. And that is what they do. They want you afraid, they want you scared, they want you confused. That's why, every day you turn on the television and it's just a bunch of, horrible endorphin-producing demonic garbage. I mean, you would think that everywhere you go, everyone's getting kidnapped every minute, people are getting murdered every 5 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 300+ million people in the United States. So just think about the statistics. When you hear about one gruesome event, it's not the norm, folks. And by the way, ever since they put these movie studios together in Burbank, California, and put these network and television systems together, they have been working tirelessly to turn the American people into psychotic wild animals that abuse their rights so that they can take their rights away. And guess what? It still hasn't worked after all these years. We still have the first right of refusal. The American people are still armed. The only country in the world, by and large, where we can say no to tyranny, first politely with the ballot box, and then secondly, still politely but with a loud voice, with the soapbox. And then, of course, if those don't work and the water gets hot enough, the cartridge box, folks. So, I mean, look, the American people are still in a very good position, unlike many other countries. And, you know, our brothers and sisters over in Europe, unfortunately, it's all they got left are pots and pans and sticks and stones. And, you know, that doesn't work too well anymore, considering the level of financing that the stormtroopers have been given in their respective countries. So the American people have a duty to preserve the liberty that they have. And as an American, as a sovereign individual created by God with inalienable rights given to me by God, I have a sacred duty to inform everyone that I can when I have been made aware of the deception and lies and treachery by the followers of Satan, by the followers of Baal, by the followers of Remphan, by the followers of those who worship Saturn, by the followers of those who worship Abaddon, by the followers of those who worship these demonic entities. I come in the name of Jesus Christ, and may the Lord rebuke your filthy trash operation and send you to the pit of hell where your damnation awaits. Because all we want to do is live an honest, clean life and love our wives and husbands and our children and our family and do what is right and be left alone. But that just isn't good enough for you guys, is it? But guess what? You're going to learn that it is. And you're going to learn that your efforts will be in vain. And the more you push, the stronger we get. The more you hack, the more dense our tendrils and fibers become. The more you prune, the more robust we return. Remember that. And by the way, isn't that the case with the Christian church, the followers of Jesus Christ? Look what they did and look what happened. The more they killed and murdered, the stronger it got and the bigger it got and the more it grew. When they were throwing the first century Christians to the lions in the Colosseum in Rome, right? Their faces were glowing white, bright white. People were being converted watching these Christians get mauled because they saw the work of God and the Holy Spirit in that Colosseum. Bet you never heard that before, huh? You know, the more they tried to murder all these people, the stronger the faith in Jesus Christ became. And you know, folks, that's going to be the case again. They've got plans for us, and they've got so many different plans, and I'm here to tell you what their plans are so you can plan for their plans. How's that? Okay? So you're not caught off guard, you're not unprepared, and I'm just a small voice, right? I have a very small amount of people I reach, but guess what? You all have a very small amount of people you reach. And then if you can employ some basic exponential growth, I mean, we're talking 7th or 8th grade math here, folks. If you tell 2 people and so on and so on and so on and so on, guess what? Eventually 2 becomes 4, becomes 16, and on it goes, right? And before you know it, through the power of forced multiplication, we have the equivalent of a committee of correspondence, right? And we do have a limited amount of time because the internet is going to come down in its present shape and form. It's going to come back up controlled by AI and highly censored. So we opportunity that we're still in right now to tell the your personal biases and fears of the social implications of losing your friends over holding positions in the sand, and tell them the truth while you can, and spread the word. You know, in my community, it's funny because when I go places, I remember many years ago, I was always at these meetings, whether it was the city council meeting or the school board meetings or the vector control board meetings or the Parks and Recreation Committee meetings or the Planning Commission meetings or the County Board of Education meetings, or whether it was committee hearings up in the Assembly of Sacramento, or even, look, folks, I ran the gamut of trying to have my level of influence over my elected reprehensibles. All right? A lot of people in my community, because of my activism, wanted nothing to do with me. They made fun of me. They said I was crazy. They said I was dangerous. And now when I go places, I see that time has not been kind to these people. And I see that the face of cowardice really takes a toll on one's once fleeting exuberance of their youth, right? And I see it in their eyes. Joe, you were right. You know, I'm sorry. Gosh, you know, I really wish that I would have listened to you. I wish I didn't do this to my children. I wish I would have listened to what you said. You know, my gosh, you know, I hear a lot, folks. You know, I'll be driving around. I'll see people that roll their window down. They give me a high five. I'm in the store. They come up to me. I'm in a parking lot. Sometimes late at night. Sometimes some of these people that look like a tweaker will come up to me and talk to me because they watch the videos. They know who I am. Folks, history will be kind to us. Just remember that, all right? History is never kind to the enemies of humanity. It always is kind to those who are on the right side. And remember that, folks. You want to be on the right side of things. We don't know how much time we have as we walk this plane, as we live our days out, raising our families, loving our spouses, providing for our families, and looking out for our fellow brothers and sisters who are unaware of what's being done to them. We have a sacred duty to promote the truth and the cause of Christ, promoting the gospel in the name of Jesus Christ, proclaiming his sovereignty, and of course, most of all, folks, salvation coming through his name and his finished work on that cross, folks. So I just want you all to just be on the right side of things and don't be afraid, okay? And for all of you people that still say bad things about me, that's okay. That's because you're blind, deaf, dumb, or stupid, or cowardly, or all the aforementioned. That's not my problem. That's your problem. You do what you want with this information. You could flush this down the toilet and go back to your bong and go back to your cartoons, go back to your Hot Pockets, or you can get on the phone, talk to your friends, say, hey, look, you know what? It's probably a good time. They want to take our guns away. It's probably a good time to go out and buy some more. They want to take our food away. It's probably a good time to go out and buy some more. They want to take our water away. It's probably a good time to go out and buy some way of generating water or storing water. Folks, there are ways. Every time they pull, we push. Every time they push, we pull. And we do it 2 or 3 times stronger than they did to us, okay? That's the kind of mindset you need to have, all right? You know, we can't just cower, all right? I don't know. I mean, look. At the end of the day, you know, it's nice out here, isn't it? At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand something. It's up to all of us to solve this problem, okay? It's not just up to me. It's not just, you know, you guys just don't just sit here and listen to me and let me do all the talking, and then you just sit there and think I'm going to do all the fighting, folks. Armchair warriors are only good for about 5 minutes. We all got a role in this, okay? And you all need to understand what's being done, okay? You all need to understand what's being done, all right? All of you. All of you need to understand what's being done, all right? And what your role is in all of this. Are you listening to me? All right, hopefully Hopefully I'll get a nice phone holder so I won't have to move around so much. All right. All right, we passed the 35-minute mark. That's past most people's attention spans capacity. This is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California. If you want to reach me, drop me a line, send me something, send me some correspondence. I read all the letters. I can't get back to all of you, but I do read, and I do appreciate, most importantly, your prayers, folks, because I can't ask for anything more than prayers at this point. Because at the end of the day, that's all that's going to sustain us is supernatural intervention, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, prepare and pray. Pray and prepare. Don't be caught off guard. Be prepared. And have the breastplate of righteousness, the helmet of salvation, the sword of truth. Have your ankles completely covered with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Have the sword of spirit and the shield of faith. You need to know how to employ those weapons of spiritual warfare in addition to our carnal levels of society, of survival in this society. Okay? All right, folks, thank you. In Jesus' name, I go and we go. Take care. Thanks for tuning in.